John Basilone was actually in the Army before he enlisted in the Marine Corps. He had put in 3 years in the Army serving at Fort J, Governor's Island, New York, and in Manila. John joined the Marines in July 1940 because he thought he would prefer it to the Army. He was looking for adventure and excitement. At the time of the Pearl Harbor attack, John was at New River. He had been transferred there from the 5th Marines at Guantanamo, and from New River he went to a South Pacific base and trained for the next 5 months. That was also where Colonel Puller got his nickname, Chesty. He was an extremely popular officer. As we passed the 80th anniversary of John Basilone's death on Iwo Jima on February 19, 1945, we can reflect on, in his own words, his achievements at Guadalcanal in October 1944. I went into Guadalcanal on 17 September with the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division. I was a sergeant, a section leader with a weapons company. The night we landed at Guadalcanal, we were shelled by the enemy. My outfit was in a coconut grove and we took it for about 2 or 3 hours. That was the first time I was under fire. We had some casualties that night. For about the first month I was on the canal, my outfit was in a defense position. During daytime, we went out on patrol. On October 24th, my battalion was in Lunga area guarding Henderson Field. I was in charge of 4 machine guns, 4 heavy water-cooled Browning machine guns. Early that night, it rained, a thick tropical rain. About 10 at night, while I was on watch, the telephone rang. I picked it up and heard our outpost reporting to the battalion command post that a heavy concentration of Japanese shock troops were heading our way. The outpost set was already surrounded. We only had about 300 men of our battalion in the area, since about half of the men had been taken that day to reinforce another position. By the time I put down the telephone, the enemy were already throwing hand grenades and dynamite. We immediately get the 2 machine guns on the left flank of our position into action. Pretty soon a runner dashed over from the right flank where the 2 other machine guns of my section were located and said that they were out of action. He said they were busted. I thought they probably had a stoppage, but I didn't want to take any chances, so I picked up one of the machine guns on the left flank and ran over to the right flank, a distance of about 30 yards along the trail. 2 other Marines went with me. On the way over, we ran into a party of Japanese soldiers, about 8 of them. We let them have it and continued on our way. We went through to the other gun position. The men there were fighting with pistols and rifles. They were under heavy fire, and one of the machine guns they had was demolished, and the other was damaged and out of action. Set up the machine gun I brought over and got it firing. Then I started work on repairing the damaged gun. There were only 4 of us left at that position then. The enemy kept charging, the rain had stopped and the moon was just coming out, and we could see them when they got up to the wire in front of our positions only about feet away. We could hear them too. Every time they started to charge, they'd scream. That night they hollered, "Marine, you die," but they died. Then Crumpton got wounded, so I put one of the Marines on the right flank and the other on the left flank, and I fired both machine guns. I'd fire one and then roll over and fire the other. Every now and then someone would yell, "Look out," and so I'd grab my automatic pistol, which I kept on the deck beside me, and use it. They were still all around us. The other 2 guys were using rifles and pistols all the time. Then we ran out of ammunition for the machine guns. I don't know what the time was, but it seemed like we'd fired all night without any water in the guns. I know they were red hot, so I took off to get more ammunition. I had to run partway through the Japanese lines. I guess I went about 150 yards to get the ammunition, and when I got back, we kept on firing all night. Part of the time, I confess, I didn't know what the score was. I thought maybe the enemy had taken the field. They were still there. We just kept on firing, and then when the battle was just about over, I'd say about 5 in the morning, the Army came up to give us a hand. Colonel Lewis B. Puller, our commanding officer, came over and said, "Nice work," and that was that. Colonel Puller told us the next day that there were nearly 1,000 Japanese dead out in front and several hundred also dead between our lines and the wires. They said there were about 40 of them stacked up around the 2 machine guns on the right flank of our section. Gunnery Sergeant John Basilone was awarded the Medal of Honor for extraordinary heroism in combat at Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, in October 1942. During brutal fighting with heavy casualties on both sides, he killed at least 38 Japanese soldiers. He returned home to a hero's welcome, including a parade featured in Life magazine, but he requested to return to combat, stating that he was just a plain soldier who belonged with his unit. On February 19, 1945, Basilone was killed in action leading an assault off the beaches of Iwo Jima. He was posthumously awarded the Navy Cross, the only enlisted Marine to be honored with both the Navy Cross and the Medal of Honor. Medal of Honor citation, for extraordinary heroism and conspicuous gallantry in action against enemy Japanese forces, above and beyond the call of duty, while serving with the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, 1st Marine Division in the Lunga area. Guadalcanal, Solomon Islands, on 24 and 25 October 1942. While the enemy was hammering at the Marines' defensive positions, Sergeant Basilone, in charge of 2 sections of heavy machine guns, fought valiantly to check the savage and determined assault. In a fierce frontal attack with the Japanese blasting his guns with grenades and mortar fire, one of Sergeant Basilone's sections with its gun crews was put out of action, leaving only 2 men able to carry on. Moving an extra gun into position, he placed it in action, then under continual fire, repaired another, and personally manned it, gallantly holding his line until replacements arrived. A little later, with ammunition critically low and the supply lines cut off, Sergeant Basilone, at great risk of his life, and in the face of continued enemy attack, battled his way through hostile lines with urgently needed shells for his gunners, thereby contributing in large measure to the virtual annihilation of a Japanese regiment. His great personal valor and courageous initiative were in keeping with the highest traditions of the U.S. Naval Service.